Welcome! This tutorial on how to import infrastructure lines from OpenStreetMap data into QGIS will be a follow-up, building upon the previous tutorial, so it is recommended to watch that beforehand. The first thing that we are going to do is to fix an error made in the previous tutorial. We'll have to make sure that the man-made lines layer is at the top so as to be able to render the bridges properly. There will still be some bridges not rendered properly, of which the only clearly identifiable is the stora Essingen here. So we can begin by creating a new layer here and fix this. We'll do a new layer, create layer, a new shapefile layer, it's okay. And it can be called bridges. And it can be in the project coordinate reference system, and the geometry type should be polygon. Okay. And then we'll toggle editing, we'll add a new one, and then we'll add a rectangle here, and the right mouse button click, okay, and then we'll do vertex editing, and we'll change that to be there, and let's see, that to be there. Perhaps that is sufficient as of now. We'll toggle editing, and save it, and make sure to change the symbology of this. No line. And a suitable color, okay, and there we have it. If we duplicate the lines layer here, and then move it to top, we can double click here, change to categorized, and as for the value, we can choose highway, and then we classify, and then we see that we have a lot of different roads, etc. here. Let's just deselect the other one, and then we can click OK, and then we can show. If we expand this, we can right mouse button click and hide all items, and then we can separately activate primary, secondary, tertiary, residential, and unclassified. That might suffice as of now. The motorways are a little finicky because they run sometimes underneath in tunnels, but they would be shown up as above in this case. So we might either omit them or choose another solution for them. To omit the motorways completely would be ridiculous, so we'll have to include them perhaps in a more diagrammatical way, perhaps a dotted line or dash dotted line, etc. Let's collapse this as of now, and F2 to rename. The layer name is called highways. Then we'll make another duplicate of the line layer, move that to the penultimate top, change the name of this to railways, double click, categorize, choose the value railway, classify, click OK, right mouse button click, toggle items, show the layer, and activate the rail item, activate the narrow gauge item, so as not to create too much visual conflict between those items that are actually underground but still visible as if they were on top. It might be a pragmatical decision just for the tutorial's sake to make the railways dotted and the motorways dashed. We'll see about this. We can collapse this and double click on the highways. First we can make sure that all of these are actually the same color. So just change the color and then perhaps to something like this, okay. And then we can change the symbol for the primary here. And the stroke width might be 0.13. Okay, and then we can copy that symbol and paste it on the other roads. As for the motorway, we'll change the stroke style to dashed line, and it can be slightly wider than the other roads, so perhaps 0.18. We can use a custom dash pattern. We can perhaps increase this a little, so 6 and 4. Okay. And OK. And then we can click OK. To preview the scaling of the dashed line here, we might actually set this to 25,000, which is our intended printing scale. And the dash pattern should definitely be more dense. So we'll double click here again. Double click here. So perhaps 2 and 0.75. Let's test that. We might increase the spacing between the dashes. Okay. Yeah, that's good. We might also change the hue of the roads to something of a little lighter hue. So we'll double click here. We can select all of the layers that we are using, and then we can right mouse button click and change color, and then we'll change the value to perhaps something like this. and OK. That's preferable. And as for the railways, we can double click here and then we can go here and change the stroke width to perhaps, since the lines are so very close to each other, we might actually do, and then we'll change the stroke style to dotted line. And we can do a custom dash pattern here, which will override the previously set stroke style. And then we'll do 0.35 perhaps, and the spacing in between can be 3. Okay, let us see if this works. Okay. And then we can copy that symbol and paste it to the narrow gauge rail as well. And as for the color, we can select both of them and change the color. And this can be a darker hue, perhaps the one we set originally for the roads. Okay, that was horrible. Let's adjust that. And let's increase the spacing to 0.75. Okay, let's make sure that we copy this same symbol and paste it here, and okay. It's not a very good representation of the rails, since it's not that distinct from the motorways and it's very cluttery, but we'll leave it like this so that we can progress. What we want to do now is to import the multiline OSM data. So we'll take the smallest subsets that we extracted in the previous tutorial, we'll import it here, and then we only want the multiline string here. Add layer, let's double click on the layer. We'll change to categorized, and the value we want to categorize is the name, and then we classify. There are going to be a lot of items here, but they will be of use to us. Click OK, expand this, right mouse button click, and hide all items. And then we'll show all of the subway lines. We'll also activate items for the tramways, so Lidingöbanan number 21, as well as if we go furthest below, the cross-city tram, as well as the commuter trains, as well as the Tiergarten tram, and the Salt Sea rail, as well as the rail of Rus. And with the risk of having omitted any subway or rail or tram, we'll finally activate tram number 12 to Suburbia. Having activated all of the relevant items, let's see if we can change the symbol to something appropriate and then adjust the colors. So we can arbitrarily select one and choose a simple line one, and since the map of this tutorial is a sort of railway, subway, tram infrastructure map, we might accentuate the stroke width to perhaps 0.35, and then the default color can actually be a purely black one. Okay, and then okay. And then we'll need to copy the symbol and select everything and paste the symbol. And then we might just actually select everything again, deselect the first one, change the color to the previously set one, and OK, and then OK. And then we immediately see that something is awry. This yellow line there should not be there. So we'll double click here again. We can change the default symbol here as well to black. OK, that did not work. Trying to remedy the yellow line bug or error, QGIS froze and crashed, so I will simply backtrack to where we were. Having backtracked, let's save this project. And then we can go back here to the settings here and changing the color of the subway line in this case to the actual color of the subway line. It can be done in two ways. If we click cancel here, and then if we select this layer, and then we'll click identify features, and then we click identify features on this, and here we have, you see that the color is blue, so you can simply take this at face value and input the color as blue. But then let's see if we take the purple rail of Rus, then you see that you get a hexadecimal value, so that you can get even closer. But I find it's a little convoluted to first identify features, go here, then double click here so as to be able to change the colors of several, because each line has several pairs of tracks, and then like this and change the color, etc., because then you don't see this and you can't select anything outside of the window here. So I do prefer to keep this open and then to simply use the reference of the local traffic service of Greater Stockholm. And then there is a plugin for Google Chrome in this case, that is called Eyedropper. I think it is called Eyedropper, yes. And if you download this, you can have this as a widget here, and then you can simply pick a color from a web page, and then we'll begin with the green line. So we'll take this, and then you can click this again, and then just take the hexadecimal value there, and copy, Control-C. Go back here, and the green line is 17 and 18 and 19, so then we just select all of those, change the color, and then we'll input the hexadecimal value there, okay, and now those are all good. So click OK, and the line is green, as it should be in this representation of Stockholm infrastructure. Let's save the file, and then we'll simply continue with this. And then we'll just click OK and wait. Let's collapse this. Let us see if we also can import the points for each individual station here. So we'll click and drag this into the layer pane here, and then we make sure that we only select the points and add layers. And it's a lot of points, and due to how the points are categorized, we can check this if we go to single symbol and categorized. There are very few values and none, which really makes it possible to sort out only the public transport stops and stations. That resides in the other tags, but if we try to classify the other tags, you see that we have 42,135 individual entries, and having already tried that, it is not a viable way to go forward, so we cancel this. But thanks to Learn OSM, which is quite an interesting read on the subject using OSM data in QGIS, we can actually make a rule-based symbology. So if we change from categorized to rule-based, and then if we add a rule here, the filter should then be, since the relevant tag is residing in the other tag's value, then we'll just make sure that public transport is not null. And then we'll click OK here, and we'll leave it at that as of now, and click OK. And while it is still not perfect, it's much less to sort out than the previous one. So let's see here if we filter it more closely, so to say. So let's double click here again and change this rule. So edit this one, and then instead of is not null, we'll see if we can change it to this one instead. Public transport is station. Okay, and okay. Yeah, this is not so great, but I guess that is fine. It's because of all of the ferries. Let's see if we can sort these out, if we find what these are. Amenity, ferry terminal, public transport station. Ferry is null, perhaps. Let's see here. Now I'm delving in the dark here, but here's the rule. What happens if we go here and then perhaps here? Expression is invalid. Okay, that did work. I had no faith in that, but if you see here, if you take the first one there and then input and the second requirement, then we will filter out those we did not want. That's great. So let's see here, do we have more that we don't want? I guess that those are for the two separate lines, or two separate railroad lines. If we click here, we find that this is the Stockholm Central. That's great. And this is Arlanda Express, it says here. And that is the bus station. Yeah, we can get rid of the bus stations actually. We'll go back here and change this rule. And amenity is bus station. Let's see if this works. Amenities is not bus station. Okay. Amenity is bus station, so let's change that. It was a wording error. Yeah, now we got rid of that. Very good. Yeah, and here is the Arlanda Express one. Since we're getting a hang of this, we might actually exclude that one as well. If we now double click here and we change this rule and we'll do the expression builder, and we'll need another requirement. So, and the operator is not Arlanda Express. Okay, and okay, and okay. And then we got rid of that as well. Very good. Then we'll change the symbology of this, but not before saving this file. And then we'll change the symbology of this. So we have only one symbol, that's okay. It's a simple marker, that's okay. Let's make it twice the size. And then let's make it white, perhaps like that. And the stroke width can be 0.08. Or perhaps a little more, 0.13. No, perhaps we can accentuate this, like that. Okay, and okay. It's way too large, of course. 2.5 then. And then the color itself, it might be good if it's... Do we have any color that is not represented by pre-existing lines? A really, really pinkish hue. Let's see if this works. Nope. Let's change the size to 3. And let's change the stroke color to white. Something like that. Let's try this. What is the complement color of green? Isn't it red? Let's go between red and orange. Yeah, it contrasts slightly against the red one and sufficiently against the more lighter orange one, and they do stand out. Let's save this. It seems as though we have lost the tram. I think we simply should make a duplicate of this. This one can be called then railway, and then this one can be called tram. And let's then change this rule so that it filters out everything except the public transport. That's okay. So while the other subway and railway stops were defined as stations, we should change this tram layer to have a rule that says that it should be not a station but a stop position, and it should be a tram stop. Okay. And okay. Then we should get these as well. Very good. To mitigate the cluttering of the tram stop positions, we might actually reduce the size of this, and perhaps also the color slightly. So the size can be reduced to 2.25 perhaps, and the hue can be also slightly lighter. Okay. Yeah, that's good, and they can also be positioned below. That's much more reasonable. We can save the projects, and as for the tutorial, I think that this is a good place to stop. So let's just go back to our print layout that we previously defined in the previous tutorial. And then we can simply go to Layout, Export as PDF, and then this one should be A3 in landscape mode, and it's also good procedure that it's 1 to 25,000, the scale of it. And save. Alright, let's click this link, and then we can open it in Chrome, and we can choose to present this. And the resultant map is not perfect in any sense, but as a representation of the infrastructure in Stockholm with the data imported from OpenStreetMap, I think the result is quite adequate. Thank you for your time.